país donde yo entiendo que el mejor mensaje políticamente tú resolver el problema de la gente. Yo no le quito el mérito a Obama y al equipo de Obama, pero entiendo que la mejor campaña, siempre lo he dicho, lo hizo el expresidente porque no le aseguró al americano por lo que vota, que es seguridad y economía. Yo quería hacerle una pregunta. Yo soy un candidato y gané, por ejemplo, a diputado. Me voy de mi comunidad, no le resuelvo a mi comunidad. O sea, me mudé. ¿Cómo yo, a qué sector yo le trabajo para volver a ganar? O sea, ¿qué tipo de campaña debo hacer para volver tranquilo y ganar otra vez? Claro.
Let me translate it to you.
Go ahead, give it to him.
Perdón. Permiso. Gracias. Joe, basically what he says is that he thinks that the best message is action. And when you as a congressman or as a senator, you win an election and you're forced to leave your community, how can you keep campaigning so they won't feel like you abandoned them? How you can take action, and how can you move forward action so they know you're there, even though you have to move to the capital city in order to be president of Congress?
Go ahead.
I think one of the mistakes that that office holders so often make is when they make the move that you're talking about from being in the community to then going to Congress, is their mindset switches a little bit. And instead of being the community's representative to Congress, they end up being Congress's representative to the community. So when they go home and answer questions to their constituents, they sometimes make the mistake of saying, well, I think you got that all wrong. Let me explain to you how that worked at the Capitol in Santo Domingo, right? And it's always important to stay on their side of the line. So you're fighting with them instead of fighting on behalf of the government for them. And let me give you another example in this. I live in Chicago, where Mayor Daley is a very strong mayor, and he has been mayor for, golly, since '91. So how many is it? For
18 years.
18 years. And every single day when he rides to work from his home, he has a notebook and he says, there's a pothole in the street that's not fixed. There's a light that's out. There's a situation going on that the police should pay attention to. Wherever he goes in the city, he's finding things that are at fault, that are wrong, that need to be fixed. That's the way an incumbent should think. And frequently, when he's answering questions from the press, mind you, he's been there for 20 years, he's answering questions from the press, he shakes his head and he takes the voter's side. And he said, you know, that's what frustrates me about City Hall. They're just not getting it right. So he's not adopting the politician's mindset, he's adopting the voter's mindset. And something clicks over sometimes with politicians when they get elected. They start thinking about it from the government's perspective instead of the voter's perspective. And I think that is the easiest way to stay connected to your constituency, is to continue to speak on their behalf. The second thing is, very quickly, when you explain your motivations for doing things, once again, once somebody gets into that capital culture, they sometimes talk in terms of statistics and bureaucracy, and they use language that only people in the Capitol use, and that sets you apart from your constituents. There was a politician one time from Texas in the United States who sponsored some legislation. He got up and he said, You know, when I think about what we're doing today, I think about a printer back in my hometown in Texas. He's a hard-working man, barely scratches out a living, works so hard he's got ink on his fingers that's constantly stains his fingers from being on the job. Okay, he's talking to them about being motivated by the people back home, not by the politics in the Capitol. And I think that's another thing that cements you to the voters and bridges that gap that politicians sometimes fall into.
I think, and add that they should run. I think another element which underscores that is when you're elected, you should always be an opponent. You should always be a challenger. Run like a challenger all the time. Don't be an incumbent. You should always be trying to seek the office and seek those votes out. The moment you become an incumbent, you fall into the traps that you need to get out of.